Hey, welcome into the 820 Enterprise in the studio today. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but sometimes I listen to my own podcast, listening to myself. I'm not sure it's a good thing or a bad thing to listen to yourself, but as I mentioned in many other episodes, the reason I produce and put out these messages on resilience every day. Yes, I would love to have billions of people tune in and share the message of the day with themselves, their friends, or whoever. That hasn't happened yet. I get a few occasional commentaries or emails, or even sometimes I run into people on the street who say, hey, aren't you the 820 guy? But very rarely does that happen. So I'm not sure if the growing habit of me even listening to a recorded episode of myself after it's been published, I'm not sure if it's a good thing or bad, because I think when you listen to yourself and start talking to yourself, that's not a good thing. I don't do that very often, but I thought I'd mention that because, as I mentioned early on in this endeavor to put out a daily missive and urgency meeting about resilience, I was hesitant because I really did not like my voice. I didn't see any possible reason or logic to record my voice, even though I enjoyed and loved the book that I wrote that prompted the content for every episode. The book, of course, if you haven't noticed, Resilience, the Beauty of Presence. I enjoyed writing it, but then after that event, having a stroke many, many years ago, but in a twisted way, I guess, but definitely a lesson that I had to experience, because obviously no one, and I wouldn't wish this on anybody, to go through a quasi-life-threatening event or trauma or just very uncomfortable period of time of life that makes you face that inevitable ultimate death. But for me, it was a sudden event that I never saw coming. But not to get into that story, you can read about that in the book itself, or I probably touched on it in somewhere in the first 100 episodes about the stroke. So I'm not here to belabor that point. Obviously, I am here to talk to you about it, but that stroke took away my ability to speak. Now, before that event, my job as a business consultant, a services manager on technology, but I was never a technology person. My job was to serve as the bridge between business and operations and technology, and between product and services, and put together a plan, a pitch, a solution for my clients to understand, and intelligently brief them on the spectrum from technology to business to operations, back and forth, up and down the decision chain of the client and in my company. That was my job for some decades of time, including military and including my civilian life. But on that day where that grace or talent was taken away from me, it was sudden, it was upsetting, it was distressing, because I was not able to speak. That was my job. I wasn't a coder. I wasn't a techno guy who could do things on a computer besides type and do memos and do PowerPoint and do, back in the day, WordPerfect documents and contracts. But I was not able to even enunciate a single intelligible word for about a good part of 6 to 12 months. So I mention that because I did not post of that stroke event, without the ability to speak like I used to prior to the stroke, now I was trying to recover some words that would make sense to not just my family, to my son, but to my colleagues in a business, fast-moving, decision-making, decision and money-involved environment. I was struggling for many, not just months, but many years to approximate that capability that I had before the health event. So all that to say, I was not happy or comfortable with a voice, because the voice is good, but without the words to put with that voice, didn't seem like a good prospect to have in business or in personal life. My life as a personal human being, didn't look sunny, didn't look promising without the ability to speak. So that's what I'm saying today. This was unintentional as far as the topic for today, but about speaking, that I lost that capability because I didn't appreciate the voice that I did have. Obviously, I've mentioned to you about not trying to go back in the past or to project myself like I was from the past to the future, and totally ignoring the urgency of this present moment then, which meant I had to slow my roll, sit my ass down, and accept, enjoy, embrace what I did have still. I had life. I had vision. I had most of my senses. And ultimately, eventually, the speaking part came back in bits and pieces. It's still not there, as you probably have heard in other episodes where I'm stumbling and mumbling or rushing through some words in my presentation to you. But all that to say, I'm so grateful to have been, gotta say it, saved in that time to be here to share some words with you today. Nothing you couldn't do for yourself. But part of that journey, part of that lesson was to be regraced with the ability to speak. Maybe continuing to slow down, enjoy this ride, enjoy this journey on and in resilience that then evolved into me coming to grips with what I do have. I have a voice, not the one I wanted, the one that I needed. So thank you for allowing me to wax a bit on, the past that I always tell us to stay away from and stay in the present moment. But that helps me right now to say to you and to myself, thank God, thank goodness that I'm able to speak to you in this way, and that I hope in some small way it was as clear as possible that I can deliver to you today. This is my best, but I hope it adds to your best today. Pay attention, stay clear, stay current, stay present, and remember to tell someone on your path, hey, it is always 8:20.